Welcome to Superhuman Selling. I am joined today by an extremely special guest. I have Dr. Laurett Arenz here with me, and I actually just found out something fun about you that I didn't know before we hit record, which was fun. So, not only were you Mrs. America 2002, you were also Mrs. United States as well, right? A few years.
Right. Well, yes, in 1997.
1997, the first woman to ever get both titles, which I think is huge. You're also an author, a radio show host, a financial success coach as well. You are a She Sells certified consultant and coach too. And so you are doing so many big things in the world, and I'm excited to dive in with you. One of the things I want to ask, I know that a lot of your work focuses on humility and leadership coupled with humility. So I'd love to hear from your perspective as a woman who has won some of the most prestigious titles in the pageant world and has also done so many incredible things in the financial services world. As a leader yourself, how do we marry leadership with humility? What does that look like in action to you?
Well, I realized long ago that there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence.
Mm.
And so I think humility also feeds into the idea of being confident. Because if you are arrogant, then of course that shows that's the opposite of being humble, right? So when I was doing my PhD studies, I really drilled down on what is the importance of humility in leadership. And not only when you're talking about somebody who is modest or doesn't want to be necessarily in the limelight at certain times or whatever. It's not really about that. It's about humility being the impetus of wanting to learn and to grow and to say, hey, I'm not quite arrived. Always there's that next step, there's that next step, there's that next step. So years ago, when I wanted to become a speaker, I mean, this is from when I was a small child. I remember my dad taking me to a seminar, and it was a positive mental attitude seminar. PMA, Zig Ziglar was there, Norman Vincent Peale, Robert Schuller, all these great speakers were there. And I was just a girl. I was 9 years old. It's at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I remember looking on the stage and saying, hey, there's no women on that stage. Why? And so from then, I just always had this dream, even though I was a super shy child. I thought I want to do this, and it just kind of never materialized. And then I was had the opportunity to mentor a little bit with Tony Robbins and his team,
Mm.
and this dream of mine came out, and they said, "Well, first of all, you have to make yourself a little bit famous." And I'm like, "Well, how am I going to do that?" I got married when I was 18. I started having kids right away. I have 5 kids. I mean, I actually do have my PhD now, but my bachelor's degree was a long journey. It was 40 years by the time I
Is that
finished my bachelor's degree because I was raising family and everything. And then once I finished that in psychology, I was like, I love this. I'm going to get my master's degree in communications and then also the PhD. So it's been the last 12 years of just kind of like really drilling down on that. But when it comes to humility, in my opinion, um, I kind of harken back to the whole idea of I wanted to be a speaker, and then they said, "You gotta be a little bit famous," and I'm thinking, "What can I do?" And so I kept thinking, praying, "What do I do if I wanna become a little bit famous?" And I went to a seminar, and this guy looks at me and he says, "Have you ever done a pageant before? Because you kinda look like a pageant girl." I was like, "No, I never have." I mean, I got married at 18. I never did, like, the teenage thing or whatever. I said, "I'm an old married woman with 5 kids. How am I gonna do a pageant?" He says, "No, they have these married pageants." Like, I said, "I didn't even know that." And the funny thing is 2 hours later, I was, going onto an airplane, and that was back before you had all the TSA and Homeland Security things, and so people are just roaming around in the lobby area, and this woman had this T-shirt on that had a crown on it, and come to find out, she was Mrs. Virginia, and that's where I was living at the time. And so I asked her about the pageant, and she says, "Oh yeah, you can do these pageants." And she gave me all the so literally he mentioned that, and 2 hours later, I ran into her, and that was life changing because she gave me the just different hints, who to contact, who to coach with, and everything. And I didn't win the first time. It took me 4 tries.
to actually sharing that though.
Yeah,
Like, people may not always they may think, "Gosh, she just got it right away."
no,
Right?
no, it took me 4 tries, and every time I was so grateful because I learned something, and I think that that's where your question about humility comes in. It's like, "Oh, great, I'm so glad I had such a great." I wasn't mad when I didn't win. I was just like I was so excited, I top 10 or I made I was 2nd runner up or I was 1st runner up, and I was so excited every time because I learned something. And I know for a fact that if I would have won my first time, like some people do on the fluke, I don't think I'd go to nationals and do much, because I felt like I there was that refining process,
Yeah.
and not that pageantry is end all be all, it's just an example, of, kind of striving for something and then succeeding at it. And the last thing I wanted to say about that was that when I did win the crown though, I kind of had a little bit of resistance around wearing the crown. And I think it had to do with my self-esteem or just realizing thinking that I'm not better than other people. I don't want to wear the crown. I mean, the sash was good, but I was like, I don't want to wear the crown. And then someone said to me, wait a minute, you're not wearing it for yourself, you're wearing it for other people. They want to, like when you actually go and do an appearance and they want to have a picture with you, they want to say that they were with Mrs. United States or with Mrs. America. And it's true. And so for me, it was a little bit I was withholding that joy of other,
Mm.
that people could have by meeting somebody
Yeah.
like that. Because the crown, it wasn't me. That's a title. And I was just filling that spot that particular year.
Mm, mm. I love that you shared that about the resistance to
Mm.
actually wearing the
Yeah.
crown, and I think that that's
Oh yeah.
something that everyone can take that metaphor and apply to your own life in terms of owning success, owning accomplishments, but I also hear what you're saying in terms of it's for others, and I think it's also a mirror for others of what's possible. I think that especially when women stand up and take ownership and take up space, but do it with humility, to your point, because it's all the energy that you're doing it in.
Mhm.
It frees others to also see that potential in them. I'm curious, from your time in the pageant world and everything that you've done, and you also run a really successful financial advisory practice with your husband, what have you learned from the pageant world that you apply in business now? I'm sure there's a ton.
Well, the funny thing is it's almost opposite in the sense. I
Mm,
feel like what I learned from, engaging different coaches and mentors throughout the years helped me to win the pageant, and so, like, learning the sales skills, learning the, ability to connect with people on their level, and just understanding and even the education that I received, I really got so into, like, the psychology of, how are people individual and what makes them unique, and just knowing that everybody is so special. I mean, God-given personality and talents and everyone is so special, and you may not connect with them like, with your personal beliefs, but they are a child of God. They are unique and special and loved 100%. And just knowing that we can be the deliverers of that message that
mm,
you are not only okay, but you are magical and divine in the way that you are.
mm.
And not that you shouldn't up level. I mean, we should always want to not only be who we are, but then who can be the very best person of
Right.
who we are. And so going back to kind of getting a little bit famous and to become a speaker, that's what really, when I did win the Mrs. United States pageant, then I started doing coaching, of course,
Mhm.
mainly with pageant people, and then I coached couples, and I had my idea was that I wanted to help people to build harmony in all areas of their life. So, Hero Strategies, which is the company that is our financial services company, but that was born in 1997,
Mm,
just right after the pageant, because that's what the name I used for the coaching. And HERO stands for health, education, relationships, opportunities, and spirituality, and just marrying all of those things together. And in my opinion, the most important is spirituality. So if you take your thumb, if you kind of look at those 5 things and you
mm,
say health, education, relationships, um, opportunities, and everything really does connect with spirituality too,
yeah.
meaning that you need to visualize things, and it's almost like build a blueprint in your mind of something that you want to accomplish or do or help people with before it will actually materialize in real life.
Yeah. I love that you shared that, and I used to put spirituality in a box. So I thought in my business life, in my professional life,
Yeah.
this is who I am. I never brought for me, my word is God. I know everyone has a different word for it, but
Me.
that's for me, my word is God. So I never brought God in, and it always felt very separate. And when I started working with, it was specifically just really incredible female mentors who talked about spirituality in business.
Yes.
My mind was blown. I thought I've never, for some reason, it had never dawned on me that you could do that. But now obviously my entire business and brand is kind of centered around that, but it drives everything. So
It does.
yeah, go
It
ahead.
does. And when I made my first brochure for the company, for the coaching company,
Yeah.
the guy says to me, "Oh, you wanna put spirituality on here? Don't you wanna put, like, success or something like that
Mm,
instead of the S for spirituality?" I'm like, I'm sorry, but I mean, this is 25 years ago.
yeah.
And I said, to me, that's the most important thing because being able to connect, and you teach it so well, with the she cells and the
Mm,
superhuman. And it's something that the way you teach it is something I've never experienced before. And I'm still a neophyte when it comes to everything. Yes, I'm certified consultant, and yet I have so much room to grow myself and to be able to help deliver your message to other people. But that conversation, I was like, heck no, I am not changing spirituality. I mean, to me, it's the most important thing because it connects with every other part of your life.
mm,
You want to have great health. Well, figure out how
mhm.
spiritually first, and then, and so forth and so on. I remember the one time I said, I'm in my 60s, but I have the health of a 30-year-old. And you said, wait, say that again? Yeah, and it's just kinda like you just have to visualize what you are gonna be and do, and you call down the powers of God, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and he will help you be anything, whatever you wanna be.
Yes. Well, that's something that I've really admired in your journey and watching what you do is just continual growth, continual learning, continually going for it, getting your PhD. And I didn't realize the backstory on that either, that it was 40 years for the bachelor's, which I appreciate you sharing with people because again, they hear Dr. Laurett Arenz
Mm,
and they think, oh
mm,
my gosh, like her whole life has just been like boom, 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 success after success after success. And I think anytime someone sees someone on a stage, we tend to think that. But to hear it's been a journey raising family, having kids,
which
and
is the
all of the
most
things,
important.
which yeah, I agree, and I think that you blend, family and business really well, and maybe we'll speak to that, but to hear the journey and to see how you consistently say yes and show up, I think is so powerful for people. I'd love if you could speak to the assessment you created recently, because I know that you love supporting and helping leaders, and I know that you've created a leadership assessment that people can so tell us a little bit more about
Yeah,
that.
I was so
Get
lit
it out
up when
there.
I did this. It's been a bit of a process. Probably like everybody else who is listening to this, they've done the disc, they've done the Myers-Briggs, they've done, color code, all these other assessments are out there. And I have too. I've just been kind of I've just loved that. Like, I love the psychology of helping people understand and be self-aware of who they are and then how to connect with other people. So I thought, yeah, there's gotta be, like, an easier way because all these assessments take 20, 30, 40 minutes, and people's, like, time
Yeah.
their mindset is like, "Okay, I wanna do something for 3 minutes, I'm done." It's like the TikTok time set. It used to be the microwave time set, now it's like TikTok time set. Um, so I thought, well, maybe I can create something that kind of encompasses all that, but it's from a leadership standpoint. So, thankfully, because of you, Elise, I met with Allison and started to Allison Lacossiere and started to take an AI
Mm.
course. And I thought, well, maybe if I can kind of marry some of these other assessments that I've worked with and come up with kind of my own um, idea of it. Well, by the way, this is born 12 years ago. The name of it is called the PRED, P-R-E-D. So it focuses on 4 basic styles. So productive, relational, engaging, and diplomatic. But the assessment itself ranks, it has about eight different questions. So easy. And it just has you rank your response to each of those questions. So by the time I have the score in the end, I know that if your first response, the lowest score, it's kind of like the golf method, the lowest score wins. That's going to be your primary core motive, your personality. And then the
Mm.
secondary core will be something that blends in with that and kind of it's a part of it. It's your core is your core, but then the secondary one kind of drives the core. So for me, as an example, I'm an engaging personality. Basically, that just means that I love fun. I like to be involved, that kind of thing. Um, and there's kind of a natural self-esteem that comes with that. The 25% of the world, they basically love themselves because they exist. Okay. And you just gotta know that, and since
Yeah.
maybe other people struggle with that just because they keep on, but that's the one gift that an engager has is that they kinda recognize, I don't care if I accomplish a lot, I love myself anyway because God gave me this body,
Oh.
gave me this whatever. Hey, so that's kind of a gift for that. But the way it kind of manifests with me is the productive side, which is sort of the business side.
Mm.
So I have fun doing business. Does that make sense? And I just
Totally.
always have been that way since I was a little girl, since I sold my first tickets to the dance recital when I was a tiny girl. I've just always wanted to engage from a business standpoint with people. And so anyway, this assessment is it's 8 questions, and, it gives me a clear picture, and it's very easy to give to a client as well. So I have it
Mm.
titled, like, it's for a client or for a leader, and you can just literally say, "Hey, take 2 minutes to do this," so you know really where they stand or kind of what their personality is, their core personality now, and then, of course, they're trying to up level. They want to add some character into it, some of the strengths of all of the other, opportunities as well. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. I love that. And is that publicly available yet, or do people if people DM you, they can get
Yeah, I mean,
out of
so, through the AI, I was able to put everything that was in my head, like, down onto the different assessments. So, for example, with mine, which being a productive engager, then I have a profile that shows exactly what that kind of looks like, what are the wants, how to best sell to that person, what does that person like to how do they like to engage with other people?
Mm.
And it's for every single side. There's 16 different styles. And so those are all ready to go. So if you take the assessment, which is just filling that out for 3 minutes
Yeah.
and get it to me, and we're creating a online version of it as well, then I will send you, your core personality and what's really great is once you start learning the science behind it,
Mhm.
it really helps you to engage with people in the way that they want to be talked to,
Mm.
and that's really important because sometimes you have, somebody who's really aggressive or whatever, and they're trying to work with somebody who's more peaceful oriented or more
Yeah.
diplomatic oriented, and there's a natural aversion, to certain style, kind of a
Mm.
natural aversion, but if you can kind of um, deliver your activity that will match their natural personality, then you're going to connect a little bit easier with them, and that's where sales come in. And so when it
Yeah.
comes to my business, I do everything over the phone, and in fact, we do webinars, and so I have to very much read. I don't even turn the cameras on because I found out early in my career with that people were always just looking at their face and everything and not looking at the materials that I was trying to share with them. In the financial services
Mhm.
industry, I think it's different with coaching, like, you definitely wanna see their face and everything,
100%.
but with the financial coaching, I just found out and so I've been doing it for years where I'm just listening to their voice, and so I really listen hard for what their core personality is and kind of adjust my demeanor towards theirs and everything. It's really
Interesting.
helpful.
And you can pick up on that just with someone's voice.
Oh,
I
yes,
see.
and yes, and I think it's a little bit easier actually to do that because visually you can get thrown off sometimes
Mhm.
by what people do, uh, and when you're listening intently, you can hear exactly what their personality is like.
What's one cue someone could listen for, listening to how someone speaks to help them understand how to better sell to them?
Right, so I had a client a few days ago, and I could just tell that he was the driver, like, he wanted to be the one in charge, and he kept asking for the bottom line and everything. So I changed my typically 45-minute presentation or whatever, question answer thing to about 10 minutes. Like bottom lined at big time.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And like literally within an hour, we had everything complete, done. I mean, he'd invested $700,000,
That's amazing.
because
Yeah.
he just was that kind of person. Now there might be a more engineering brain, more diplomatic brain that needs to see a lot of numbers
Yeah.
and figures. They need to go down a process. They have a personal rule that it takes them 3 times to see the information before they can make a decision.
Yeah.
But what I like to tell people, and this is so key, 75% of the people that you are going to offer things to, that you're gonna, in essence, sell. I always like to use the word offer versus sell, but anyway, 75% of them want to make a decision now, and here's the reason why. You have those that are the productive that just wanna go. That's like 25% of the population. They just wanna go and get it done and, be done with it, right? Uh, Another part, the relational population, they want to know that they have done what they're supposed to do to get the right facts out there. But they also rely so much on the expert. Like if I'm the financial advisor, they're going to rely on me to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And I find when I'm speaking with them, they'll ask me many times, so you think this is a good idea for me? Is that you think, they'll continually check back with me. So that's another 25%. But they also want to get it done with. And the engagers, like me, we're just like, okay, whatever's easiest. Like you fill out the details, I'm fine.
Awesome.
But the ones that are a little bit more challenging typically are the diplomats, because they have that brain where they wanna go back and forth a little bit, and it's more introspective. It's more of an introverted aspect versus extroverted, so they're not necessarily gonna ask for a lot of opinions from other people. It's very much their own, and you gotta love that because it's independent, but I respect it, and I love it when I'm talking to the engineering type, and I'm like, I know that as long as I get them the information that they want, eventually they're gonna become the client.
Yeah.
But please don't sell yourself short because 75% of the people, they wanna make a decision, like, now.
Yeah.
They do.
And I think that's so empowering to think about going into your sales conversations, your discovery calls with the understanding that 3 out of 4 people you're talking to, they actually wanna make a decision now. Because how often do we not even ask, or we assume someone's gonna say, "I need to think about it," or "I need to take my time," when in reality, what you're saying is most people, they wanna make a
It's
decision. They wanna
scientific. It's scientific
So
statistics.
that one shift, if you just take that with you into your conversations, your sales presentations, knowing that people are really motivated to decide, I think that would change and transform
Yeah.
a lot of conversations as well. I want to ask you one final question before you share more about how people can connect with you, how they can connect for the assessment, and to know more about your work. But what you shared with the pred assessment, I got that right, right? So what you shared with that, it's all about navigating relationships, right? And when I think about you and some of what you stand for, it's not only success in business, but it's also marriage, family, and you've done everything you've done while also growing a beautiful family. You've got how many kids and grandbabies now?
We have
I know
7 children and 20 grandchildren, and this was
amazing.
I know, I'm the most blessed woman on the planet.
I understand it. I keep telling like every baby I have, I'm like, I want another one. I understand. I go totally. I never thought I would be that woman, by the way.
Well, there's something about being pregnant and having that makes you feel in love again, so
It's a real thing, and at a certain point, like, okay, I gotta stop. But 7, so 7 children, 20 grandbabies as well. And so from your perspective, growing your business, having the pageant success that you've had, doing the things that you've done while simultaneously leading a really large family, what is the glue that holds it all together, and how do we have it all? How do we do it all in those spaces?
well, it is about priorities, and so that's one reason why it took me 40 years to get my bachelor's degree. I got a year in before I got married, and then it was just, like, correspondence. Back then, it was like you didn't have the internet and everything, and
Right.
and finally, I was able to knock out the last year. Just literally 40 years. I kinda laugh about it as, like, Moses wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. Uh, but you know what? I love it because it's new information. Like, since I received my bachelor's, I think it was, 2018, I don't know. But, I mean, that's more newer information than had I done it
There you go.
years ago.
Divine timing.
Yes. So I learned so much through that, experience. I think that we just always need to prioritize, and there's a metaphor that goes like this, like, if you had a bottle and you wanted to fill up rocks with it. Like, you put big rocks in first, okay? Like, you've had all these rocks, and then you put the smaller rocks. So the big rocks would be like your family, your health, your, different things that are the biggest priorities, your relationship with God. All those are the big priorities. And then you have smaller rocks that are your career, or your hobbies, or things like that. And then you have the water that goes in at the end, which actually permeates everything. And that's kind of like, your spirituality as well. But I feel like, for me, I was adamant about being able to be with my children growing up. I mean, there were times that lived overseas. I lived in Abu Dhabi, Israel, Mexico City. We always had nannies that were able to kind of help with the children and everything. And I but I always had something going. I was an image consultant at one point. I was, I was this or that, but I always had something that I could actually do from home. So I could be there when the kids are home from school. And and I'm not saying everybody has to do that. You might have a corporate journey that you're doing or what have you. But for me, that was really critically important. If I was going to work and be productive in that sense, I wanted my first priority to be my family. For me, that's the most important.
Well, I love the piece about prioritizing and knowing what matters. And I think when we have those rocks, it helps us make decisions in real time. And it helps us know, okay, what are the actual anchors in my life? Like, what really matters? Even just last night, we've been doing our event all day, and I got home and I had probably 6 or 7 things that I felt like I, quote unquote, needed to do to wrap up the day. And I was talking to my husband, and he helped me come down, and there was one thing that actually mattered that would move the needle for one of my goals. Everything else is like, it can wait until tomorrow. So I think just knowing what matters, knowing what doesn't, is really key. But I love the example that you set, that we can be incredibly successful pursuing our dreams in business, all of it, and simultaneously raise and grow abundant families if that's something that speaks to us and calls to us. So, thank you for this. Share with everyone, Laurett, how can people connect with you? How can they take your assessment? How can they get deeper in your world?
Thank you. It was such an honor to be here, Elyse. When I met you, I just knew immediately I wanted to work with you. And so I'm excited for this journey. Yes, you could go to Laurett.com, or we're going to also do the drlaurett.com now that I have my I got to kind of own that was a journey. Um, but yes, once you connect with me, I can get that assessment to you, and you can get on your journey to maybe learning how to be a more effective salesperson as well, if that's what you want to do. And it's not only for sales, it's for relationships, general relations with your friends and your family and everything like that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
You're
being here.
welcome.
Thank you for the wisdom that you share, and thank you for continuing to go for and pursue what lights you up, because I think that, like I said earlier, that does mirror to others the fact that nothing's off limits. We can continue to pursue success and greatness in our dreams over and over and over again, and evolve as we go. So thank you so much for
You're
that and for
welcome.
being here.
An honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will link everything in the show notes for you to go connect with Laurett, to take the assessment, to learn more about her work. And as we wrap, I want to just thank you for being a listener of the show. I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on our next episode.